You are welcome to LFN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Whoever said that human beings are selfish creatures was indeed very correct. Filled with self-pity, people are always ready to explain why they do the things they do, and why they made past mistakes. Well, it turns out no one will blame themselves but everyone else. It's rather uncommon, if not completely difficult, to find someone who will confess the wrong things they have done throughout their adult life, and describe them as crimes that would carry a life-threatening consequence such as jail time. They will instead say, "I did it because I had to." Even if one is caught and arrested, they will rush to their defense and hire the best lawyers available. And that's humankind for you. When it comes to doing this for others, however, the story changes quite dramatically. While humans will do anything to save themselves and their own, they will not move a finger for others. How I wish the selfishness would stop at that, but they will instead redirect all the energy to criminalizing the actions of others and throwing insults, only because this time round, it's not them on the hot seat. For R. Kelly's case, for example, no one wants to know anything about the wrong that has been done to him, what his childhood was like and all he went through. How he ended up with these people that have now turned the guns towards him, the circumstances such as blackmail under which he may have had to do the things alleged against him. The fact that he cannot read or write and could have been taken advantage of. No one wants to realize that this man has been exploited and all he worked for taken away by the companies that claim to manage his music. No one wants to consider that this man R. Kelly deserves a simple retirement after a lifetime of working for nothing. And why is this so? Because mankind only thinks about themselves. I am confident among every 10 people castigating the R&B king, some are racists, others sex abusers, and more real criminals. It's difficult to find a completely innocent group. A perfect example is Michael Avenatti, the lawyer who was representing the supposed victims of R. Kelly, who turned out to be one of the worst criminals of all time that stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from his own clients. A fully fledged fraud star with all the qualities of a thief, now fully convicted by the US court. If Avenatti managed to steal money from his own clients, and attempted to blackmail Nike to a tune of $20 million, how sure are we he wasn't the one behind R. Kelly's blackmails over the years with the so-called tapes he talks about? I wouldn't object if someone suggested Avenatti is capable of taking a life for pay with the love he's got for money. What's important to note here is that these are the same people that are harassing R. Kelly and passing judgment on him. These are the very same people describing him as a predator and saying he deserves to rot in jail. If we decide to think like emotional and empathetic humans, we will realize that all R. Kelly needs right now is our support. Abused by his own sister as a child, R. Kelly's sex life was tampered with and probably ruined at an early stage. This is not something many of us experience in life, and putting myself in his shoes, it's more complicated than we may imagine. The effects such an experience could have had on his mind were likely permanently imprinted on his brain. This makes the person a lot easier to take advantage of by the opposite sex, and so he was. He probably felt like a very sexualized being, and this could have made him so vulnerable to women. So they come into his life so easily without scrutiny, and before he knew it, the same women he fed with his own resources were turning against him. They simply wanted more and more, and R. Kelly alone with his dwindling bank balances could no longer suffice. Just like Avenatti threatened Nike for an ask of $20 million to shut his mouth. He probably did the same to Robert. Poor Kelly could not afford all this, and look where he ended up, in jail. While in jail, he couldn't even have a moment with his attorneys in private, as it is alleged that the wire was always tapped by the prison officials. If this really happened as alleged, who else could have been behind it but the prosecution, who desperately needed to know his defense plan, so that they could plan on how to counter it? While we the onlookers and the jury are passing judgment on Kells, we forget that this act was a complete violation of his rights. And a proven equivalent to justice obstruction by the people behind it. Maybe we do not actually forget, but we simply ignore this like Kelly doesn't matter at all. Kelly has been treated like a third-class citizen in his own country, all because we have allowed to be blinded by propaganda. But why would we expect better than this anyway, when the trigger for his arrest in the first place was a television show that aired on Lifetime channel? Why should we expect the jury to have looked beyond the propaganda against R. Kelly, if they couldn't call society to order, and block the airing of this mudslinging collection of episodes that spoilt the case by corrupting the minds of many 2 years before the trial could even begin? Expecting a proper judgment on this case is like expecting the sun to stop and wait for the moon. Something that will never happen, unless we have someone from among the Supreme Court jury to say enough is enough and put things right. R. Kelly deserves a fair trial. Whatever was conducted was something that looked like a trial, but bent towards emotions and mere sentiments, nothing objective. According to Marion, naturally, a sinner cannot coexist with a fellow sinner, and will therefore do whatever is possible to make another man's sins sound more serious and different. If this sinner happens to be one with authority like a judge, for example, or the government prosecutor handling the case, the other sinner is in big trouble because the laws will be twisted to pin him down. This is what the judicial system is always about. They cannot fail to lock you up if they want to. That's why your prayer should always be that if you have a case, it's handled by a very sane judge. The risk of doing time in prison if the judge's sanity is questionable is higher than the Himalayan Everest. Who even knows why Michael Avenatti is in jail? Why did it have to wait until it was Nike he touched before he could be brought to book for the fraud claims that had long existed? Nike definitely, powerful as it is a company, could afford this thing called justice. Had it been a common man he attacked, perhaps Avenatti would never have to pay for his crimes against his client. If justice in this country of ours is going to be a reserve for those who can afford it, then we are in deep trouble. I could argue out that Robert has been out for 20 years, probably because he had money, and when his accounts ran dry, look what happened. I better leave this conversation and go work hard so that when this happens to me, I can afford my own justice, since our government is no longer predictable. According to Melissa, because R. Kelly is famous, he has served as a revelation to the world on how people get to be treated like third-class citizens, and how government supremacy is actually used to end people's lives and shutter their dreams completely. The United States of America had better stop the fantasy of feeling better than the rest of the world, for as long as we still have corruption and tailor-made justice for just a few people and not all, we still have a long way to go. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to sashalfnmedia@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.